Hello everyone and welcome back to Beatley Tone's Beatles channel. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this video and I hope you're all doing well out there. So this is going to be episode 3, the final episode in the Paul McCartney live album ranking chart, where we're going to do numbers 3 down to number 1. So if you've missed the first 2 parts of this video and you want to watch them in order, you can click out of here and go onto the link down in the description here where you'll see a link to the first 2 episodes. If you're not bothered about watching them in order, you can watch this one. At the end of this video there'll be an end card that pops up at the end and it will say Paul McCartney live album ranking or something like that. You can click on that and you can watch the other 2. So we're down to the top 3, and at number 3 in my ranking is this album from 2019, the Amoeba Gig. This is recorded live in the Amoeba record store in Hollywood in 2007. Now, I say 2019, but songs from this concert have been dripping out right back to 2007, where songs were first released as a 4-track 12-inch vinyl EP. A few years later in 2010, British newspaper Daily Mail, I don't know if you're familiar with it, it's one of the worst papers in the entire world. In their Sunday edition, the Mail on Sunday, they gave away free a 12-track CD which was called Paul McCartney Live in Los Angeles, and to get that I had to go through the indignity of going into a paper shop and actually buying the Mail on Sunday in front of people, which I'm not happy about entirely, but I was quite happy to get the CD. It's great. Now the next version of this came out a couple of years later when Paul McCartney's website, again free, gave this CD away with an additional 2 tracks from Memory Almost Full, which were Nod Your Head and House of Wax. And then finally in 2019 we got this CD version which has 20 songs, which was the entire concert, but we also got this on vinyl and coloured vinyl as well, if you don't mind, and that's something I'm going to show you in another video. We got an extra track on the album, which is really unusual to get an extra track on an album that's not on a CD, and that was a sound check recording of the band doing Coming Up. So the lineup for the Amoeba Gig was Paul's current band, with the exception of Wicks, who didn't play this gig. He was replaced on keyboards with a guy called David Arch. I'm not sure why Wicks didn't play this gig, but you can be pretty sure it wasn't because he was washing his hair. So I'll go through the songs that are on the Amoeba Gig album, but before I do, I think you better sit down, take a deep breath as I deliver the news that he didn't play Let Me Roll It at this gig. So for the purposes of this ranking, I'm only ranking this version, the full album version. And so I'll just go through the tracks that are on this album. So it kicks off with Drive My Car. Then we've got Only Mama Knows, Dance Tonight, Sea Moon, That Was Me from Memory Almost Full, Blackbird, Here Today, Back in the USSR, Get Back, Hey Jude, Lady Madonna, I Saw Her Standing There, Nod Your Head, House of Wax, both of those from Memory Almost Full, Long and Winding Road, I Follow the Sun, appearing for the first time on a live album, I've Got a Feeling, Matchbox, Babyface, and Coming Up from the... So what makes this album so great that I feel the need to put it at number 3 in my ranking? Well, so first of all, so as I said, this album was recorded in the Amoeba record store in Hollywood. Now, I've never been to the Amoeba store, but from what I understand, it holds 1,000 people maximum. So very small crowd for a Paul gig. One of those people in that crowd was Ringo Starr, but unfortunately he never made it up onto the stage. What I feel about this album is the fact that it is recorded in such a small venue really comes across in the recording. You can really feel that the band are really close to the audience and they are as tight as you can believe. Paul is in absolutely fantastic voice, but you get lots of little snippets of conversation between Paul and the audience. Even at the beginning, he reads out a message from the management of the record store telling the fans not to nick the records because they're obviously just leaning against the record racks and stuff like that. So you get, I really do feel that the atmosphere of this gig comes across on the album. Second thing about this album that's really great is that we get 5 tracks from Memory Almost Full. There's no other live album that offers that many tracks. We get Dance Tonight and Only Mama Knows on the Good Evening New York album, but we've not had Nod Your Head, which actually is a track that doesn't really do it for me. That Was Me, which is a track that does, and House of Wax, which in my opinion is probably one of the best songs that is written this millennium. I absolutely love that track, so I'm really happy to be able to have a live version of House of Wax. Now, although we do get a lot of songs on this album that have been on other live albums, again, as I said, because you feel the closeness of this really small venue and how compact it is, I just really love the versions of the songs we've already had. They sound better and more punchy, and I don't know, I can't really describe it. You've got to listen to the album. If you listen to the album, you'll kind of know what I mean. You just get this feeling about those songs. A couple of things that I wanted to mention. So we get I Follow the Sun, which, like I said, is the first time it's appeared on a live album, and it's a real fun version where Paul teases the audience at the end with about 4 different false endings. He does the end of the song, they all clap and cheer, and then he goes back into the last couple of lines, they all clap and cheer. He goes back into the last couple of lines, and so on. That's a fun thing, and makes it gives you that, again, it gives you that feeling of this is, they're all having a really good time, and Paul's got this connection with the audience. The other song that I wanted to mention on here in particular is his version of Here Today, which famously he pretty much breaks down while he's singing it. And what he says is, because he is so close to the audience, he can actually look into the eyes of the people at the front of this audience for the first time, because this isn't a massive arena or a massive stadium. It's a record shop, a big record shop, but it's still small for a sort of place that Paul plays. And he saw this girl at the front of the audience absolutely sobbing while he was singing this song, and that set him off. For me, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about in the video I did about meeting Paul McCartney, if you've seen that, where I really do believe that Paul understands fandom and he understands the connection between him and the audience and what it means to the audience. So that is a really poignant, sad, but somewhat joyous moment on this album. So like I say, I haven't been to the Amoeba record store, but I have seen Paul in a very small venue, and it was actually when he was doing this same tour, when he was doing these small gigs in promotion of Memory Almost Full. He played a thing called the Electric Proms in London, which you've probably heard of, the Proms, which is a festival of classical music that's held every year here. They hold it at the Royal Festival Hall. But in recent years, they've done a pop version that they call the Electric Proms, where they have a week of bands playing at the Roundhouse. And the Roundhouse has got a connection with the Beatles because it was the place where the infamous Carnival of Light was first aired in 1967. But I'd been there lots of times in the 70s because it's that sort of venue. It holds about 2,000 people, so about twice as many as Amoeba, but it's one of those venues where for sort of up and coming bands, it's that step up between a pub and playing in a theatre. It's a sort of, it's an all-standing venue. As I say, it holds 2,000 people, and I was lucky enough to get tickets for this gig in 2007. So I know what it's like to be at a gig in a very small venue with Paul, and it's absolutely fantastic experience. So basically, those are the reasons why I love this album so much, and the Amoeba gig is my number 3. Okay, so we're at number 2 and my runner-up in my chart, and I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball here, and that is this album here, Wings Over Europe. Now, I know that this won't be familiar to everyone because it only appeared in that great big box set in the archive collection that also included Wildlife and Red Rose Speedway. So apologies if you haven't heard this album. I'm not including it to say, look at me, I've got this. I'm including this because it is absolutely fantastic. So this album was recorded on Wings' European tour in 1972. It was with Wings Mark II. And as you're probably aware that Wings did their first tour earlier in the year when they just turned up at universities and played. The lineup for this band was Paul and Linda, obviously, Denny Lane, Denny Sywell on drums, and they'd now added Henry McCulloch on lead guitar. So they basically got in a bus and they went all over Europe playing at various venues, pretty small venues. He did all Wings material apart from a couple of covers, no Beatles songs whatsoever. And like the Amoeba gig, you kind of get the feeling again that it's been recorded at small venues. It's been remastered and polished and buffed up to within an inch of its life, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. I mean, you can just hear everything that's going on. So I'll go through the track listing and I won't bother to say too much about each song at this point. You can take it as read that for most of these songs, it's the only time that they've appeared on a live album. So the album kicks off with Big Barn Bed, which was recorded in Newcastle in the UK. Then we get Eat at Home and Smile Away. Paul rarely does songs from the Ram album. I've never known him to do these two songs since this tour. I've seen him do Too Many People and I've seen him do Ram On, and that's about it. Then we get Bit Bop and Mumbo from Wildlife. Obviously, those haven't been done since for obvious reasons, but they just sound great. They do. They really sound fantastic. Then we get a cover, Blue Moon of Kentucky. Now we understand for this album why Paul is slipping in a couple of covers, because he hasn't got that much material. So he needs to pad out the show with a couple of covers, and Blue Moon of Kentucky is one of them. Then we get a track called 1882, which was an outtake from Red Rose Speedway. And now how this song was left off of Red Rose Speedway, I will never know, because it is brilliant. I absolutely love it, and you get about a 6-minute version here. I Would Only Smile is next. That's a Denny Lane song that was also mooted for Red Rose Speedway, but eventually left off. Then we get a live version of Give Ireland Back to the Irish. Just fantastic. Then we get a version of The Mess, which was the B-side of My Love, but not this version. This version was recorded in Berlin. The one that appeared on the B-side of My Love was recorded in The Hague in Netherlands. Then we get a song called Best Friend, which I can best describe as being Paul Does Glam Rock, which was the kind of thing at the time with T-Rex and Slade and all those sort of bands it's a kind of a glam rock song. Again, another one that was eventually left off of Red Rose Speedway. Then we get Soily, a song that we're familiar with now because it appeared as the last track on Wings Over America. This is it in its early stages, and to be honest, it doesn't sound that much different. Then we get I Am Your Singer, and there's a really nice moment in this because this one is recorded again in The Hague in the Netherlands, and Dutch people are very forgiving people. When Linda sings her lines in this song, there's a big clap because they acknowledge that, you know, this is probably the first time, you know, that she's sung live in front of an audience, and they give a big round of applause. And there's actually a video that comes with this big box set that I was talking about, and it's called the Bruce McMouse Show, where it has a few of the songs that are on this album with the visuals. And when they do I Am Your Singer and the crowd applaud Linda as she sings her first lines, you see Paul and Henry McCulloch look round at Linda with a great big smile on their face, like they're so proud of her, sort of thing. Then she sings another song, Seaside Woman, a song that she wrote, a kind of reggae song. It came out eventually under the guise of Susie and the Red Stripes, but a really enjoyable song. Then we get Wildlife. Well, Wildlife on the album, I've always thought is possibly one of Paul McCartney's best ever vocals. It is just absolutely fantastic, and he does it absolute justice on this version as well. Then we get My Love, the first time, you know, we've got lots of versions of My Love over the years. This is the first one. Then we get Mary Had a Little Lamb. You know, it's not the greatest of songs, but historically, it's great to have a live version of this. Then we get Maybe I'm Amazed. Again, we've got lots of live versions of this, but this is the first one that we get. Then Hi, 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 same thing. Not quite as boisterous as the one on Wings Over America, but still a good version. And then as an encore, they do another cover. They do Long Tall Sally, and they absolutely rip the arse out of the Beatles version of this. It's absolutely fantastic. I'll just show you a couple of bits from the book that it comes with. You get a facsimile of the tour program, and it has one of these things where you get like pen pictures of each member of the band, and we get to know that Henry McCulloch's middle names are Campbell and Lycan. It asks the members of the band what their, you know, their height, their weight, those sort of things, their favourite music, their favourite colour, their favourite food. Linda says grass. And Paul lists as his pet hates the common market, which in its current guise is the EU. I think he may have changed his tune on that now. So you get a book that comes with it, which is full of pictures from the tour. I'm not going to show you them all because I'll probably do a video on this box set. I mean, this box set came out at the worst possible time in December 2018, when we'd had the Imagine Ultimate Mixes box set come out in October 2018. Then in November 2018, we had the White Album remix box set, and then we had this great big thing come out in December 2018. You've heard of open heart surgery. Well, this was like open wallet surgery for me. There are some great pictures in here that give you a really good feel of the tour. You know, some great pictures in here, and I'll just show you the CD if you haven't seen it or you don't have it. That's the CD. So as a historical document, I mean, this is a fantastic album. Now, we know that some of the songs are not the best songs that Paul's ever written, but to get them in this version, which is, I mean, the sound is just absolutely pristine on it. It's just a fantastic album. And if you don't have it, I think you can probably find most of the songs on YouTube, or any of the streaming services have got this on as well. So go and have a listen to it. It really is a fantastic album. So Wings Over Europe is my second favourite live album. So before we get to the big reveal of my number one, I'm sure you've guessed it already, let's have a little rundown of the whole chart. Let's have some 1970s pick of the pops chart rundown music to go with it. Who was that pillock? Okay, here's your rundown.
Okay, so at number 8 it was Unplugged. Number 7 was Paul Is Live. Number 6 was Back in the World, or Back in the US. Number 5, Good Evening New York City. Number 4, Trip of the Life Fantastic. Number 3, The Amoeba Gig. And number 2, Wings Over Europe.
So if you haven't guessed it already, my number one Paul McCartney live album is, of course, Wings Over America from 1977. I just absolutely love this album. I don't think it's ever been beaten as a live album. And obviously this comes from the period when Paul wasn't filling up his set with Beatles songs. He was still trying to establish Wings as a major force in pop music, and pretty much all the songs on this album are Wings songs, which is really great, some of which have never been repeated on a live album. So Wings Over America was taken from the American leg of the world tour that Paul did in 1975 and 1976. They started the tour off, they did some gigs, then they took a break, they recorded Wings at the Speed of Sound, and then they went off to America, and this is the album that resulted. Now the lineup for this band, it was the new Wings lineup, which I think is Wings Mark 5. So we've got Paul and Linda, and Denny Lane is still there, and they are joined by a fantastic drummer, Joe English, and absolutely amazing lead guitarist, Jimmy McCulloch. Just so young, so talented. What a waste. He died after leaving the band and joining the Small Faces. The band was also supplemented by a live horn section, and that was Tony Dorsey on trombone, Howard Casey on sax, Steve Howard on trumpet, and Thaddeus Richard on sax, clarinet and flute. So an absolutely fantastic band for this album. So when this album came out in 1977, I'd become a Beatles fan in 1976. So this is one of the first albums that came out live, if you like, or came out since I'd become a Beatles fan. So I just snapped this album up and I just played it absolutely to death. I absolutely loved it. My love for this has never really dwindled. It's just fantastic album. It's a triple album, if you don't know. It's a double CD if you get it on CD. It's got pretty much the whole of the Venus and Mars album on it. I think there are only 4 songs from Venus and Mars that aren't on this album. That's Loving Song, Venus and Mars Reprise, Treat Her Gently, Lonely Old People, and Crossroads. And because of that, when I had this album first, I was a little bit reluctant to buy Venus and Mars, because although these were live versions and Venus and Mars had the studio versions on it, I kind of, I was in my big Beatles discovery time, and I wanted to hear stuff that I hadn't heard. I wanted to discover it and, devour it. And Venus and Mars, I felt like I knew the album before I'd even bought it, because so many live versions are on Wings Over America. So what do we get on this album? It opens up in the most fantastic way. Venus and Mars, Rock Show, and then Jet. I've actually seen Paul open up with Venus and Mars and Rock Show. He did it in 2010 at Hyde Park, and I was there, and I was just so shocked that he opened up with those two. It was just a real blast from the past. Then obviously the obligatory Let Me Roll It follows. Then Spirits of Ancient Egypt from Venus and Mars, and Medicine Jar from Venus and Mars. Then side 2 starts off with Maybe I'm Amazed, and wow. For me, the version of Maybe I'm Amazed on Wings Over America is the version. It is the best version that has ever been released, in my opinion. He's never bettered this version, not even on the McCartney album. The Maybe I'm Amazed on Wings Over America is the version for me. Call Me Back Again, his vocals are absolutely fantastic. He is absolutely belting it out in that hoarse voice that he does. So then we get the first of the Beatles songs that he does on this tour, and it's the first time he's played Beatles songs live. So we get Lady Madonna, Long and Winding Road, I've Just Seen a Face, Blackbird, and Yesterday. Sounds familiar? Of course it does. Really bizarrely, all 5 of those songs he's still doing on his Got Back tour as we speak. Incredible, incredible. Then obviously we get Live and Let Die. It's not ending the set. It doesn't have fireworks and, you know, flamethrowers and everything, but it's there at the end of side 2. Now side 3 is an acoustic set where they all sit on chairs at the front of the stage playing acoustic guitars. We get Picasso's Last Words from Band on the Run, Richard Corey, a cover, a Simon and Garfunkel song. Then we get Bluebird from Band on the Run, and then, as previously mentioned, I've Just Seen a Face, Blackbird, and Yesterday. Side 4, you gave me the answer, Magneto and Titanium Man from Venus and Mars. Then Go Now, the Moody Blues song sung by Denny Laine. Then we get My Love and Listen to What the Man Said from Venus and Mars. Then side 5 is all Wings at the Speed of Sound. Now, you wouldn't have played these on the first leg of this tour because Speed of Sound hadn't been recorded yet, but they do Let 'Em In, Time to Hide, sung by Denny, Silly Love Songs, Beware My Love. And then side 6, Letting Go from Venus and Mars, and then he finishes the set with Band on the Run. Then for the encore, we get the most fantastic version of High, High, High. I love the bit at the end where it goes double speed and he just absolutely rocks it out. And then the set, unusually, I think, finishes with a relatively unknown song, a song that hasn't been out on an album before, Soily. But what a fantastic version, and that was the B-side of Maybe I'm Amazed, which was the single that was released from this album. So for me, Wings Over America has never been beaten. It is my favourite Paul McCartney live album, and there it stands forevermore, I feel. So my number 1 is Wings Over America. So there you have it. There's my ranking of Paul's live albums. I hope you've enjoyed it. I want to hear what you think about my ranking. Have I got it completely wrong? You tell me yours. You tell me what you think about these 3 albums, or you just give me your whole ranking. I don't mind. I'd love to hear from you. And as you know, I read all your comments and I answer them all as well. It's about time on this channel we had a little bit more John Lennon. So the next video I'm going to do is the Ultimate Mixes box set of Imagine Revisited. I'm going to go back to 2018 and have a look at that, a little deep dive into that album and talk about that for a little while. So please join me for that video. If you're seeing this channel for the first time and you like what you see, please consider supporting my channel by subscribing, give the video a like and hit the notification bell. That would be absolutely fantastic. I thank you for joining me for this video and indeed this whole series and all your fantastic comments that you've given. I'll see you very soon. Thanks again for watching. Bye.